Root of Nightmares is here. We got a new raid exotic, and I was the lucky one that got it on my fire team in contest mode. And as I do, before I get something out, I test it a lot. I used it, played multiple games. I'm going to show you a thing or two. There's some things to learn. Also, contest is over. More is going to be getting it. Good luck. So, lots to talk about. What it can do a little bit kind of beyond what it says, the tools that it has. Conditional Finality is a stasis exotic shotgun. To give a gauge of what this thing actually is, like a lot of the stat package is just straight up wrong. But basically, brand new weapon type, a double barrel sawed-off shotgun. Hopefully we see this in the future as Tex Mechanica, some way, somehow. But it's actually just an aggressive frame. Mindbender, Astral. In PvP, it matches the bullet damage of 22. It matches the base range of the aggressives, 30 range. In ADS, tightening the spread, about 6.5 meters, 7 meters max. 4.5 in hip fire, so basically same damage, same base range as an aggressive. No range perks are added. It says it has 5 in the mag, it most definitely does not. It has 2. It also says that it shoots at 165 RPM. It does not. The RPM is 55, the same as an aggressive frame, but it has 95 handling and some powerful perks. Powerful in PvE, and in the Crucible, straight up fun. Intrinsic trait, split decision. Dual barrel split into stasis and solar damage. Right side of the barrel is stasis. It has stasis crystals coming out of it. Left side is solar. It's on fire. For stasis, the hipfire reticle is a triangle, pyramid. Stasis is going to be the first shot in the spread, while ADS is a triangle. When the shot is spent, the right side of the weapon goes away. The stasis crystals just go away. The left side's still there though, burning. When it switches to the other side, the reticle changes, representing solar damage. It's a circle. And once you shoot that second shot, you do the reload. And a side note, really cool sound design. I'm gonna turn the decibels up a tad bit louder so you can hear it. When both solar and stasis are on the shotgun, it emits sounds of those two things. If you listen closely, you can differentiate them. Stasis sounds like crystal forming, kind of icy. The solar sounds like a campfire, like crackling wood. When you shoot one away, the sound goes away. It has shortened barrel, greatly improves handling. This is that 95 handling. It's at the cost of range and stability. Alloy mag, a faster reload when the mag is empty. Perfect magazine for it because it shoots those 2 shots. Kind of has a duality reload a little bit. And also, as you put on loaders like stasis loaders, it's incredibly fast. And if you're using this, it's something you might want to invest in. Textured grip rounds out the stats for handling. 55 RPM. The exotic trait is paracausal pellets. Wild perk for a number of reasons. Landing nearly all stasis pellets will freeze targets. Landing nearly all solar pellets will ignite targets. Crazy because those things usually need pure abilities or a buildup, like a second action. Like Chill Clip on a fusion, you slow them, then you will freeze them. Do a combo of 2 sources, maybe a dust field, and then a slow source second. Whereas an ability like a Cold Snap will instantly freeze. Same goes for solar. Usually need Scorch stacks to get up, to cause an ignition. Land enough pellets, it will freeze them or it will ignite them depending on what barrel you're on. They work together. Like on the second shot, the ignition shot, you're gonna get the ignition explosive damage, the pellet damage, and then the shatter damage because they were frozen. As far as how many pellets, guys, it's whack. I did so many tests. For PvE mostly, it's been 10 of 12. PvE was a lot more consistent at being 10. I tried and tried, so I'm gonna say that 10 is the threshold. For the Crucible, all over the place. Sometimes 8, but I'm going to say 9 or 10. Because like sometimes if 8 land, like this is a final blow, it will do the freeze. It will do the solar ignition, like right here. Other times 8 land from a distance, no ignition. Or get a final blow with 8, no ignition. So I would say 9, definitely 10. And other times like whatever this is, and this is an outlier clip, only happened once. Like this is 5. It froze on 5. Very odd. It's got a mind of its own. And final blows in general, most of the time, do what they say. Whatever barrel that you're on, a freeze shatter or an ignition. Since it does do stasis shatter, since it does do an ignition with the solar shot, that means it does work on unstoppable champions. With the freeze, the first shot, the shatter afterwards will stun them. Secondarily, if that wasn't enough, maybe you just have the solar round in, shoot them, nearly all pellets land, the ignition goes off, that will stun them too. I'm gonna come back to this. This was an 1830 lost sector, and I wanted to be 1800 to 1805. I ended up being 1804, so 26 under power, And the shotgun did great. But overall, as far as PvE, I think it's a dream. It's really good. Since its stasis has shatter, all of the stasis fragments work that have to do with that. Hedrons, fissures. And in all gameplay, I am using Shadebinder because Ice Flare bolts work. Absolutely amazing. Shattering a frozen target spawns a cold snap. So, like in PvP, all those pellets land, it will spawn a bolt. PvE, it's going to be happening all the time. It's so good. But here's the deal. This freeze on the first shot alone. And remember, it's got 2 bullets. You can shoot a shot, reload, shoot a shot. You can keep doing the freeze part. With any subclass, it doesn't have to be stasis. That part is amazing. Able to freeze. Like, say there's an enemy that will one-shot you, or a more difficult enemy that isn't a boss. Hit them with a stasis shot, freeze them in place, get some distance, reload your weapon, your health, recover if you need to. I've been doing this a good amount. In the raids, same idea. I needed a second. I would freeze whatever in front of me, get all my stuff reloaded, maybe pop a rift, whatever it is, and then continue on. And even better, and when I did this for the first time in the raid, the guy that was with me, Mr. Aries, we were cracking up like hysterics. I started doing it to an anti-barrier champion. Just shooting a shot, reloading, damage in between. And honestly, just doing the freeze and ignition back to back with the fast reloads like double stasis loader is a big part of what can make this thing great. Like, you can take out anti-barriers, not even let them get the barrier shield up. I know that because I did it in this Lost Sector previously. I've done it in the raid. So that's what's really cool. I think that the stasis freeze, just the contact freeze of the pellets, is the best part of the exotic, hands down. And you don't need the stasis kit at all. Stasis elevates it, but with just the freeze, you can do things like that. Then we have the ignition. The deal with the ignition mostly is just damage on top. The ignition's going to have really good damage to go with your pellets, to go with the shatter. And the ignition can stagger a little bit too. So not only can you freeze them in place, the second bullet is going to kind of stun them for a second sometimes. But if you are on solar, then all the fragments that have to do with the ignition do work. Char, spreading scorch from ignitions, eruption, the ignition having a larger area of effect, ashes, apply more scorch stacks. Blistering, defeating targets with ignitions grants grenade energy, things like that. The Dawn Chorus, improves scorch effects and daybreak projectiles. So if you have the fragment that applies more scorch, with this improving scorch, eruption, bigger area of effect, char, spreading the scorch, it can work, but you have to be on solar. Collectively, it's really nice how they put this thing together. And like at the end of this Lost Sector, 26 below, I found myself actually relying on the shotgun. It was a void surge. So no solar, no stasis. This thing isn't doing any more damage than it normally would. And like, to put it into context, like my Void Pulse did have a Void Surge, and it took a little bit to take down even red bars. But I get in these moments where the ignitions are clearing, the freezing was slowing things down. I loved it. So good. And honestly, enemy hitting you wise, harder than contest mode. The boss here in this Lost Sector, I do have on resistance. It would one-shot if I didn't have Void Resistance. And at the end, again, I found myself relying on the shotgun. Moving around the center, like, look how good it's doing, just being a pure peak shot damage weapon. Get the freeze going, get the ignition going, there's shatter damage. It was really impressive. And when you combine it all, it's got a lot to offer. Using the little tools, the little things that it has, no matter where you are, what sub you're on. I do think that Ice Flare bolts are just going to be like the best with stasis. Pair that with Osmiomancy, but you don't need all that. It's a good weapon, guys. You can do so much. It has multiple uses. For the Crucible, here's the deal. Like, first and foremost, hands down, one of the best anti-super weapons in the game for the Crucible, because while in super, they're going to have damage resistance, they can take some damage. Well, if you do land those pellets, you will freeze them, and then you will ignite them with the second shot because they're frozen in place. Bubble completely hard counters it. And when I was talking with True Vanguard, he's like, dude, I couldn't even break out before the second shot came. So if you get on them, it's over. And some things I did in game, like even a well, if you get in there and nail the Warlock, you can and will take them out with that follow-up shot. I've done it to the roaming Strand Super for Hunter. They were even 3-peeking me around the corner. I stopped them in their tracks. I've done it to hammers. I've done it to a couple of them. Like, it is awesome. If anything, it can be in your back pocket. Maybe it's 4-4, 4-3. You know that they have a bubble coming or a well. You could use the shotgun in trials. Like, this shotgun can do it. Otherwise, it is really just a regular shotgun. But just the shotgun part, slightly above average. And I say just slightly. The reason for that is the 95 handling. It being aggressive, you know that when you're in range, it has the 22 pellets. Like, it will down. It has a fast ADS, stow, and ready speed. But the real reason you play is for the stasis and solar barrels. Again, I'm using Ice Flare bolts, the literal best, and I can't tell you how awesome the feeling is to shotgun one person. An Ice Flare bolt is going to seek, find another, and then they're just in place, and you take them out and ignite them. And sure, I could melee follow up, but What's the fun in that? But not even taking into account Ice Flare. Like 2 enemies could be together. When you shotgun one, land all of them for the stasis freeze, it can shatter and collateral the enemy right next to them. Or maybe another enemy's close on the second bullet. You can deal over 100 damage collateral them that way or get them low. It's a very well made weapon, and I hope that they clean up the stats soon to make it look right. I'm very impressed. As a regular shotty, you can and will make plays with it. Is it meta? Nah. Not that. Extremely fun. If you play your cards right, I mean, it is a shotgun. Of course it can do well. And I will say that it is a meta pick for shutting down supers. It can do that. And it can do that better than 99% of the other weapons that aren't a sniper. It's going to be best on stasis or a solar sub. Solar sub for the ignition. And honestly, that comes up the most because when you pick up an ammo brick, you only get one shot. Well, that's always going to load in the solar round. So a lot of your final blows will be the ignition on the solar kit if you want it to be that way. It's one of the coolest weapons that they've ever made. And honestly, to me, one of the funnest weapons that they've ever made. And that's what Destiny's all about. It draws a really good line in the game. PvE, very good. I was very impressed. I loved it there. I'm going to continue using it. It deals with a lot of different scenarios great. Different ways you can approach them. PvP, just flat out fun. And I really hope that you guys get it soon. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Conditional Finality down below. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think from what you've seen? And if you do have it, anything that you're liking about it. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, I am CoolGuy.